Hello all, welcome to BNMIT video podcast. I'm Farzeen Soha from 5th semester Computer Science Department. Today we have with us Professor Priyanka Badki ma'am, Assistant Professor Computer Science Department. And today we'll be going on a journey about self-awareness. Welcome ma'am, how are you doing?
Thank you, Farzeen. I'm really doing good. How are you?
I'm doing good too. Thank you ma'am. So as students, we often explore into aspects of personal growth and we come across this concept of self-awareness. I'm curious to know what it truly stands for and why is it so important?
So thank you, Farzeen. So self-awareness is about ability to recognize your emotions, thoughts, and behavior. It is not only the ability to recognize how these aspects influence your action and behavior, but it is also about critically reflecting oneself. So the deeper you understand the patterns of your emotions, it helps you acknowledge your strength, your weakness, and it helps you to make much informed decisions. So with the deeper understanding of this, you will be able to exude more confidence, and anybody who wants to navigate through the complexities of life with a positive impact would want to take self-awareness as a crucial role because of the role that it has to play in terms of personal development and interpersonal relationships.
Indeed, it allows individuals to reflect upon themselves, connect deeply with people, and make thoughtful decisions. How can anyone start their journey towards becoming more self-aware?
See, a great starting point for self-awareness is to practice mindfulness and reflection. So what is mindfulness? Let's say you're eating a chocolate. When you're eating a chocolate, when you're eating, if you're just gushing it into your mouth and thinking, what is the next kind of tasks that I have to do? That is not mindfulness. You open the wrapper, feel the texture of the chocolate. The moment it's in your mouth, relish the taste, savor the texture, enjoy the flavor, and you will eat it. This is called mindfulness. So when we talk about reflection, reflection is like a mirror. When you stand in front of the mirror, you're just not looking the external beauty, but you're also talking about you're able to see your emotions, your thoughts, and how your behavior is actually influencing you and the people around you. The great methods, the tried and tested methods to practice self-awareness is journaling, meditation, and self-reflection and taking constructive feedback. A note about journaling and meditation is that when we say journaling, people just think that it is a fancy diary and you're writing, you went to IKEA, you bought this, you did this, you spent this much. Journaling is actually about writing about your emotion. Let's say you're angry. At that point in time, you have to write the sequence of events which actually triggered your anger. When you do this in practice, it helps and understands that pattern. And the moment we say meditation, everybody says this is not my cup of tea. So that's because when we've been told that meditation means you have to stop your thoughts. It is not actually that. The monks that actually seek for higher knowledge, they say meditation means you will have to watch your thoughts. So that gives you more clarity. To say a simple example, whoever has seen Harry Potter, whenever Dumbledore is feeling confused, you can see that he picks up a wand, puts up a thought and put it into a bowl of water. So that gives him clarity. That is the kind of clarity that you need to get when you're doing all this meditation and your journaling.
Definitely. I do agree. Journaling and meditation truly helps unlock one's potential. It empowers us to lead with purpose. But what could be a few common barriers that could come in the way?
Yes, the common barriers for self-awareness is denial. What is denial? That is, I don't honestly accept the behaviors that I'm giving. Say, for example, I say I'm a very good listener. But the moment somebody starts talking, I keep interrupting the conversation. So, and when somebody tells that as a constructive feedback, I don't acknowledge it. I still don't accept and I say, no, I'm still a very good listener. Second one is the fear of judgment. So what if I tell something and somebody makes a joke out of it? So let's say I'm a writer and I've written something. I'm scared to show that to the world because I may feel somebody may think that I'm not good enough. I've not written it to that extent. Lack of self-reflection. So I don't pay a lot of attention to what I feel and why I feel. The last one is mostly it is through overwhelm. What is overwhelm? It is a gush of emotions that come in. And I usually take that as, oh, maybe I'm stressed out. And I don't give enough time to analyze the sequence of events that actually is causing that gush of emotions. And the last one is actually too much diversion. In today's world, for everything, whenever we have time, we're looking at social media. So you miss out time on processing your own thoughts and emotions because you're busy scrolling social media. So these are the usual barriers that we come across.
Absolutely. Recognizing and addressing vulnerability is very important. Speaking of acknowledgement and feedback, what role does it play in self-awareness? Does it have to be always all sunshine and roses?
No, constructive feedback is like a mirror. So when you look at mirror, you look at many things. But here we're talking in terms of analyzing your behavior, emotions, and actions. So when you take constructive feedback from people you trust, it usually shows us the blind spots that we tend to give a miss when we are considering our own thoughts in the process. So there are many leaders like Sudha Murthy and Indra Nooyi who practice this along with their team, and that has helped them to take many strategic decisions which has got a great impact for the company as well as the society.
And what about emotional intelligence? It has been a hot topic in recent years. We tend to seek for emotional intelligence among our friends and families, among ourselves, in fact. How does it tie to self-awareness?
So emotional intelligence is a very important part of self-awareness. So emotional intelligence means it is your ability to analyze your emotions and know how to handle them so that it has a positive impact on yourself as well as the associating people that are working with you. It could be in personal front or in the professional front. So I want to quote Indra Nooyi here specifically, the former CEO of PepsiCo. When she stepped in as a director, Pepsi was served as a drink, but it had high sugar levels. When she stepped in, she took the feedback of her consumers, where that time there was a shift towards health and wellness. So she considered this particular emotion of all the consumers that she's talking about, and she changed the product and she reduced the contents of sugar and other things. And that's when we introduced Diet Coke and Diet Pepsi, which came way healthier than the earlier versions of Pepsi. So this is an example of how she took in the emotions of the people who are her stakeholders and converted that into a very strategic decision which shifted the way for PepsiCo. So that's a great example for emotional intelligence, how it powers self-awareness.
That's a powerful approach. So emotional intelligence helps leaders to inspire and motivate others. But how does it affect their decision making?
So when you're practicing self-awareness, you're very much clear of where your thoughts are coming, where your emotions are coming, and you're aligning them with what you want to be, your value system, your beliefs. So you're aligning with that. So your choices always come as informed decisions and not in haste, and so it exudes confidence. So there's a beautiful line from Harry Potter. When Harry Potter wants to know whether, because everybody tells he's like Voldemort, so he's having that potential. So he doesn't know which side he has to work. So Dumbledore tells him, look, dear Harry, choices will tell who you are and not your ability. So then he rethinks where he wants to stand. He re-questions his beliefs and his emotions. So then he takes his stand and makes a decision to continue his fight with Dumbledore. So that is the informed decision. Whatever you make it with objectively critical, informed decision. So that's the power of self-awareness.
That's a nice example. So it helps us evaluate our choices and stay true to our values. It boosts our confidence and it helps us take decisions informedly. So is there a connection between self-awareness and confidence? And is there a difference between self-consciousness and self-awareness?
Absolutely. And that's a wonderful thing you've brought about, the comparison between self-awareness and self-consciousness. I'll answer the first part. See, when we talk about self-confidence, when does confidence come? When you're having complete clarity in your mind as to what you're doing. That clarity, it comes not only with the strategy that you apply, but how you feel about yourself. So, the more you are able to analyze your emotions and behavior, the more confidence you exude. Take an example of any sports person, Roger Federer or Virat Kohli. How are they able to up their game when the team needs it? It is because they're very self-aware of their emotions. They can know when they can take themselves to that level to up their game and face that challenge. That does not come just like that. It needs a lot of practice of mindfulness, and that's where self-awareness exudes and supports, increases your self-confidence. What is the difference between self-consciousness and self-awareness? See, the self-consciousness usually deals with your overwhelming anxiety about how you are perceived by the society. So what if I do this? What if they think? What they will think? What others will think? So it usually leads to over anxiety and sometimes even embarrassment. So self-consciousness is actually seen in the negative trait. Whereas your self-awareness tells you to draw your power from your own emotions, your own actions, your own strengths and weaknesses. So self-awareness is a positive trait which gives you positive energy and confidence, whereas your self-consciousness makes you too much aware of what society thinks about, so you're not listening to yourself or your emotions or your strengths or your weaknesses.
Very right. So effective self-awareness helps individuals to identify where to put their efforts so as to get results that foster growth. So does self-compassion come into picture here?
Very true. When you talk about self-compassion, it is we showing compassion to ourselves. Let's say I'm at a goal, achieving something. I've worked very hard to achieve what I have. Still, I haven't got what I wanted to that extent. I have to not be very harsh on myself. I have to show compassion and kindness to myself and see what I can learn from what I have done and pick up points and then see that I grow. So whenever we talk about fulfilling something, there's always some hits, some misses. So when we don't get what we want, we have to be really kind to ourselves. That's also a part of self-awareness.
Absolutely. That's a great example. So when we take time to understand ourselves, our strengths and our weaknesses, we not only boost our self-belief but also lay the foundation for our success. But as we reach out for this success, we tend to encounter stress or undue stress. How do you think that self-awareness helps us to cope with this stress?
So see, the stress is usually when you are overwhelmed with many things but you don't know what to start with. That could also stem from the emotions that you're feeling. So whenever you're self-aware, you're able to handle your emotions better. So let's say, for an example, I've joined a new job today and I feel suddenly overstressed. So I can just rub off that emotion stating, oh, maybe I am busy. But that may not be the case. When I look into it, I feel that I'm getting this stress because whatever jobs are doing, I am trying to take control of everything. I'm trying to make everything perfect without taking help or seeking proper inputs or help from my other associates. Because I am trying to be everywhere, I am inducing stress to myself. But how will you know this? When you sit and self-reflect on yourself, then you can understand. So when you have uncluttering clarity about how to handle emotions, then obviously you will make an informed decision, and that informed decisions will relieve a lot of stress.
Right, very right. So is there any final suggestion or further any recommendations to enhance self-awareness?
So always start with self-reflection. Take constructive feedback from people that you trust and acknowledge your strengths and weaknesses very honestly to yourself. And also remember, self-awareness is a journey and it's not a destination. So it's a process. So celebrate your progress every day. Inculcate mindfulness, inculcate self-awareness, celebrate your progress and discover a new you every day. So be you, be bold, celebrate yourself and discover a new you every day.
Thank you, ma'am. It was an amazing journey how you walked us through the journey for self-awareness.
Thank you, Farzeen.
Thank you all. Stay tuned for upcoming episodes. Stay informed, stay authentic.